Chosen one, you never tried to get here. That is the first thing I need you to understand before anything else tonight. Because what I am going to tell you is not about something you achieved through discipline or dedication or the right kind of effort. Not about a destination you planned and worked toward. You did not find this place. You fell into it. And the falling, the specific shape of your life, the particular sequence of everything that happened to you and everything you chose and everything you refused and everything you survived, that falling was not accidental in the way we normally use that word. It was the only path to a place the map had never drawn. Stay with me tonight, don't go anywhere. If this channel has not yet become part of your life, subscribe right now and turn on all notifications. Not for the numbers. Because what I am about to tell you is going to reframe every part of your life that felt like it was going wrong. And I do not want you to lose what comes after this. And if you are already subscribed, congratulations. Your faithfulness, your returning, I genuinely do not take that lightly. Thank you for being here. Write 777 in the comments if you have ever felt like you were living at a frequency that nobody around you could quite pick up. Like you existed at a level that the people and systems in your life could never fully reach or fully read. Stay until the very end. Because the last thing I tell you tonight is the piece that explains why you have never been able to fully understand yourself, using any category you have ever been handed. Let me start somewhere unexpected. The greatest discoveries in human history were almost never planned. The people who found them were not looking for exactly what they found. They were doing something else, going somewhere else, trying to solve a different problem. And in the middle of that, they crossed into something that had always been there, waiting with no name, because no one had ever arrived at it before. The discovery was real before anyone discovered it. The territory existed before anyone mapped it, but it was only accessible to the specific kind of person who got lost in exactly the right way. That is not a metaphor for tonight. That is the description of what happened to you. Now I need to take you somewhere most people never get to think about. Because to understand what you unlocked, you first need to understand what a level actually is in the architecture of the unseen. In the invisible structure of how things are organized, there are what could be called levels of soul capacity. Not rankings, not hierarchies of worth. Something more like depths of access. How far into the real weight of things a soul can go. How much pressure it can hold without losing its fundamental nature. How many layers of reality it can occupy simultaneously. Most souls operate within the levels that were designed for them. They reach the depth their formation allows, function well at that depth, and fulfill what they were placed here to fulfill. This is not limitation in the way the word usually lands. It is calibration. The capacity matches the assignment. But the architecture of the unseen was not designed by someone who only imagined what was likely. It was designed by someone who imagined everything that was possible. And within that design, there were levels built into the structure that were never expected to be activated. Not impossible. Just improbable enough that they existed the way a mathematical equation exists, that is theoretically solvable, but that no one in the history of calculation has ever been in the exact conditions to solve. These levels had no names. They had no access protocols. They had no recorded instances of activation. They were waiting. In the precise language of the design, these were called latent levels. Architecturally present, functionally dormant, not because nothing had ever been strong enough to reach them, because no specific combination of conditions had ever coexisted in a single soul long enough to produce the activation sequence. The final one had a designation in the original architecture, Omega. For those who feel something opening in their chest as they hear this, there is something built for exactly this moment, waiting in the description and the pinned comment below. Now let me tell you what Omega actually requires, because this is where everything about your specific life starts to become legible in a completely different way. Most levels activate through accumulation. More of something. More faith, more strength, more endurance. The level above requires more of what the level below required, refined and expanded. Omega does not activate through more. It activates through a combination that should not coexist. Specifically, the simultaneous presence of absolute breaking and absolute refusal to break. Not one after the other. Not breaking followed by recovery. Both at once. The experience of being completely undone, and the presence of something in you that remains fundamentally undone, operating at the same time, in the same soul, under sustained conditions. This combination should not be possible. The breaking should eliminate the refusal. The refusal should prevent the full breaking. They are structural opposites. For them to coexist requires a soul architecture that does not appear in standard formation, because it cannot be built deliberately. It can only be produced as a byproduct of a life that went to specific places in a specific sequence. The design anticipated this theoretically, but anticipating something theoretically and knowing when it has actually manifested are different things. When the unseen registered that the combination was present in you, that both conditions were operating simultaneously, and had been for long enough to constitute stable activation, something happened in the architecture of the celestial order that produced a result outside the existing record. The Omega level activated, not because you tried, because you lived. Your specific life. Your specific sequence of breaking and not breaking. Your specific refusal to fully collapse even in the seasons when collapse would have been the rational response. The accumulation of all of it, in you, in the exact proportion the activation required. Without you knowing you were producing anything at all, you unlocked something that had no activation record, not in all of the history of souls placed into the world. And when those conditions were registered by the architecture that governs what levels open and when, something occurred that not even the full knowledge of what was designed could fully anticipate. Because designing a theoretical level and knowing what it will actually produce when finally activated are not the same thing. The opening of Omega produced something new, not a variation of what existed, not an expanded version of what was known, something that had no prior instance in the architecture of the unseen, a new territory, a new category of soul capacity that did not exist until you arrived at it, and the one who designed the architecture